Hello, everybody. Welcome. Okay, we're getting started just in a moment. Okay, so you are in SEO Essentials with Terra. I'm Aubrey Terrazas. I founded Terra, and I am a digital marketing expert. So Google ads, Facebook ads, social media, and SEO. So today we're going to talk about how to get started with SEO for your business and how you can manage it internally. Okay, so what to expect today? This is really all about having low budget, how to get started, some essential tools and strategies that you can do on your own with, a small or even no budget. We're going to learn how to leverage keyword tools to improve your ranking. So what does that mean? It means when someone searches for something on the web, that you show up higher on the page by optimizing your site, by choosing the right keywords to include in your content. And then at the end, we're going to have some free takeaways for you. Okay, so I specialize in the wine industry, but this is really for anyone with a business. This is for marketers and sales staff, anyone that's trying to improve the traffic to their business. As well as content writers. I think this is very valuable if you are writing blogs or creating content for businesses or for yourself. That way you know how to do it in a way that's more friendly for SEO, as well as for influencers, bloggers, really anyone with a personal brand that wants to draw people in. Okay, so why do we even have this webinar today? This is really hard stuff. It's crowded. There's a lot of people competing to have their names shown at the top of the page. And it seems really easy. It seems like you just plug in a few keywords, red wine, white wine, hotel in Paris, and boom, you should be there. But it's not as easy as it seems. There is a technical side that can be very confusing. It's completely accessible. So no worries if you're feeling any of this. We're going to tackle some of these issues today. Okay. These are the things that influence your SEO ranking. So it's not just about those keywords, but that is definitely the meat and bones of SEO. So keyword ranking, when someone searches a term, it is how high you rank for that keyword. An example of a keyword might be hotel in Paris. We're going to get back to that one later. And so when someone searches that, are you number one or are you 3 pages in? We all have a ranking for our business related to keywords. It's important to know the keywords that are related to your business, but again, we'll talk about that too. Backlinks. So there's something called domain authority, which again, we'll talk more about later. But essentially, how many sites link back to your site is a huge indicator to search engines that your site is credible for this information. And not all backlinks are the same. So if it's a small blog with 500 visitors a month, that does count. Those are important. But if you can get the New York Times to write about your business, then it's going to shoot your SEO ranking through the roof. Referring domains, how many unique sites link back to yours? So if there are 6 of your, if a blogger links back to your site 6 times, then those are all separate hyperlinks, but it's only one domain, which would be the referring domain. Organic traffic, and so this is a little bit mean because if you have more SEO, then you'll have more organic traffic, but nonetheless, that still tells Google and other search engines that you are more credible, so it will put you up higher if you have more visitors coming to your site. Readability and UX. I think this is one thing that a lot of people don't realize influences their ranking. So every few years, Google, and we'll talk, there are other search engines, there's Bing, etc., but Google is definitely has a monopoly and controls a lot of the traffic to your site. So every few years, Google revamps their algorithm, and during the Panda algorithm, they basically started detecting and scanning your site to see how easily someone could scan your site to find the information they're looking for. And so that comes down into readability. Can someone scan your site and pick up information quickly, as well as UX, so user experience? How easily does your site flow? How fast does it load, etc. Which, by the way, if you're working on SEO and improving your UX, that likely also improves your conversion. And then finally, speed. This ties into what we just talked about, how fast does your site load. And this is very important. This is one of the more technical things. We will get into this today. But if your site takes 10 seconds to load, someone's going to get frustrated and leave. And search engines hate that. If someone comes to your site and then immediately leaves, it's called a bounce. When they bounce, that means that Google thinks like this wasn't a good match for that keyword, and it's going to knock down your ranking. So we want to make your site faster, which again is going to help with your conversions anyway. So we're going to cover that into 3 main buckets. We're going to talk about keyword research and strategy. We're going to talk about readability and UX, and then we'll finally get into harvesting backlinks and creating that domain authority. So first, keyword research. There are a lot of different tools. Some free ones here are Google Keyword Planner. So if you have a Google ad account, which you should, even if you're not running Google Ads, it has so many great tools. So I suggest making one, and then it's there. Definitely set up Google Analytics on your site if you haven't already. There's very powerful data, and it's free. If you turn on the expert mode in Google, then there's a keyword planner. And you can put in keywords that you think are related to your business, and it will tell you how well they're going to perform, as well as make other keyword suggestions. This is important because oftentimes as business owners, we think that people are going to search based on our own personal jargon. Maybe, for example, you're talking about digital tastings all the time on your site, but people are actually searching for virtual tastings. So you want to learn the lingo of your customer and then optimize the language within your site to reflect what people are actually searching for. Ubersuggest is a great tool. We will actually peek at this. They have a free version, and if not, it's very inexpensive. It's for lifetime access, it's less than $300. Neil Patel, who founded it, is definitely considered an authority on SEO and has lots of great videos if you want to dig deeper. They'll tell you about your site performance, where you can improve, as well as make keyword suggestions. I do suggest digging deeper than Google if you can, because Google is great, but for new ideas that can help improve your ranking, using these tools are really going to set you apart. SEMrush is another wonderful tool to suggest keywords and help you optimize your SEO. And then finally, Google Trends. I use this one a lot. Especially for writing blog content. So there's going to be the evergreen content that just sits on your site all the time. This is who we are. This is what we're about. This is what you came to the site for, if you're looking for our services or product. And then when you're creating other content just to draw on traffic, you can really leverage Google Trends and find out new things that people are starting to search for. And this is great because a lot of times they will have less competition, so you can rank higher. For example, last year people were really trending on cotton candy wine, which is sort of this, American hybrid grape wine that smells like cotton candy. And so I wrote an article about it for one of my companies and one of my clients, Palette Club. And that's now one of their highest traffic pages because there's not that much competition. And by the way, I will make this PDF available for anyone. So I hope you're taking notes, but if you're not, no worries. I will make sure that I send this to you all later. And feel free to ask questions, but I'll address a bit of Q&A at the end as well. Okay, so implementing keywords. There are a few strategies here. So first, one opportunity that many people miss is using it for page titles, content, and descriptions. So the page title is actually the name of your page. So for example, in navigation, you might have, dollysbakery.com/about. And that page title is about. And you can make that more specific to help rank with your keywords. But also within the page description, you can say, Dolly's Bakery serves homemade cookies in Dallas, Texas, yada, 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 whatever those keywords are. I haven't done any keyword research about bakeries in Dallas. But if people are looking for specific pastries or specific location, a specific service, make sure that that's included. Many new businesses neglect their page descriptions, and that's a great opportunity. And that also will affect your site links, which we'll get into. And then more importantly, your content. So your content is not just your social media and your blogs, but that's the actual living and breathing text, as well as the image that are on your site. So you can make sure that when you're writing page descriptions, talking about your services, that you're incorporating these keywords, doing the research to find what people are looking for, and then including it in your body of work. Include it in the headers of your site. So whenever you are creating different sections, make sure you reflect whatever that page is supposed to be about. So if the page is about chocolate chip cookies, then you want to make sure that you're reflecting that in your headers and subheaders as well. So it's great to be creative, but I do think that if you find ways to still incorporate those keywords into your headers, that's really going to tell Google that that's what this page is about. And again, as I mentioned, images make a big difference. So if you update the alt text, and so I'm going to do some screen shares here in just a moment, but your alt text tells search engines what this image is about. And that's oftentimes a missed opportunity because it's hidden from the viewers typically, but it is important for your ranking, as well as the image name. Instead of just having an image 1, 2, 3, 4, make it more relevant. So if we're talking about pastry still, I guess it's just time for dessert here in Europe. Make sure that it's chocolate cake made fresh at Dolly's Bakery in Dallas. And then finally, keyword variations. So that's important as well. You want to be careful not to just use the same keyword over and over, but think about how other ways people might search for it, because Google will be screening for that as well. They do recognize synonyms as well as variations on keywords. Okay, just a quick piece of advice: avoid stuffing. I'm not talking about Thanksgiving, but the search engines are very smart, and they will know if you are just trying to cheat the system and rank to the top of the page. I was guilty of this when I first started getting into digital marketing. And an example of this would be, our company is about red wine and white wine and Greek wine and Italian wine and Napa Valley wine. You see where I'm going with this. So be smart, be precise. You still want to make it conversational and very readable for your guests, because if they start reading it and don't trust your content, then they're going to bounce anyway, and that's not going to look good. So you want to make sure your keywords are included in your content, but only so much that it makes sense and is still fluid. Don't add keywords just that are off topic just because you want to rank higher. Okay, so I'm going to screen share here in a moment, and I'm going to start showing you. So we covered quite a bit already. We talked about keyword strategy, so I'm actually going to go back here as a quick reminder. We're going to do some keyword research and find some related keywords in Ubersuggest to help kind of get our brain flowing about different types of content that we could create. A little bit later, in the next section, we will get more specific into headers and blogging once we talk about readability. I think that's a really important time to talk about that. Okay. So here's Uber Suggest. Great tool, as I mentioned. Keyword ideas, keyword overview, keyword analyzer. So you can even put in your company and see how well it performs. So I'm going to be using Palette Club a lot as an example today. Okay, so let's try Online Wine Club. This is a small company, and so you know, you will definitely see your competition. It'll feel a little bit heated, and no worries. We will talk about strategies for that as well. So it shows you how well you're ranking for that keyword as well as related keywords. So what are these different tools? So SEO difficulty. This is the competition. You can see that it is actually a rather competitive keyword. PD, paid difficulty. So if I chose to do Google Ads, how difficult will that be? CPC, cost per click. How much should I expect to pay for someone to click based on that keyword? And then the search volume, how many people are actually searching for this? The trend is interesting too, because you might notice some stuff that's trending. How to start a wine club is very high, but maybe not relevant to the business. On Wine Line Tasting Club was really hot, and then I guess maybe it started to, you know, disappear once people could taste in person again. Keyword ideas. So this is great because, you know, as I mentioned, this first keyword that I was looking for, that I had in mind, is rather difficult. So what are some other keywords that have less difficulty, that maybe with still a decent volume, that I could implement on my site? And this is one, and that's the other thing too, is you want to make sure that there's actually some volume, because otherwise there's not a whole lot of need for you to include that. There's a little bit for online wine club membership. Wine club reviews is interesting. That might be an interesting one to include. Let's try related. Okay. And this is something that I'm doing live with you, that I'm exploring, so you can see how I would tackle these issues as well. So maybe online wine club isn't the best option for them, and we can just try something different, monthly wine club. Okay, great. And already we're seeing a lot more volume and significantly less difficulty. It's not a green light, but you know, this is something that we can work with. And then it has all of these other really great suggestions: monthly wine club gift, subscription boxes, etc. And again, a lot more volume. And so this is great because this is related specifically to the business. It's an online wine club that has a subscription of wines matched to your taste. But that does not mean that we can't bring in traffic in a different way. And so we'll try it. I'll come back to this in case we want to refer again. Google Trends. So we can go a little bit broader here. We can bring people in to our site with traffic that's related, but not necessarily specifically for people that are searching for our service, because maybe people didn't even know the service existed, but they're going to love it when they find it. Let's look up wine, but you want to make sure that you're in the right area. So I have United States, past 12 months. Okay. So I'll tell you a little bit about this, different places that are searching. But this is what I really like, is Wine Advent Calendar. It was a breakout National Wine Day. Aveline wine, that's Cameron Diaz's wine. And I actually did recently write an article about that, about clean wines, because that's what she's all about. And I mentioned this, and that can help rank it, which it has been one of the higher ranking pages recently. Snoop Dogg wine. I have not written an article yet about Snoop Dogg wine, but this would be a content example that we can include within the blog. If you're not ready for a blog, no worries. It does take some time, but just even getting a couple a month can really help with your traffic, especially for a local audience. Like if you are a hotel in New York, we're actually going to talk about hotel in Paris as a keyword here in a second. Then you can write articles related to it, top 10 most Instagrammable sites in Paris, for example, or best budget restaurants in Paris. And then people that's still related to what you're trying to do, and people might come to your site and discover your product or service. Okay. So again, just to emphasize that the best type of content to your site are going to be higher search volume, lower difficulty, or trying to find a nice balance. That's a great place to create content for your site. And even if it's not a blog, trying to incorporate that into your text and other materials, even your images, is going to be very powerful for you. And so we're going to have a little breakout session here, just 2 minutes, so you can start brainstorming, because honestly, the hardest thing is getting started. And before you even come up with these keyword suggestions, you need to think about different keywords that you could even start to look at and see how they might bring some traffic to your site. So I'm going to put on a timer for 2 minutes. I will let you know when we are close. I'm going to turn my camera off. I'll give you just a moment here to grab a pen and paper, or you can take notes and an email body on your phone to yourself, whatever. 2 minutes just to start creating content. This is our only breakout session today, but I hope you find it useful. Okay, you ready? Turning on the timer for you. 2 minutes. Okay, welcome back. I hope that was helpful for you. I definitely explore some of these other tools after the webinar. Again, I'm going to send a toolkit for you. I'm going to send this PDF. It's a lot of information to cover in an hour, but no worries. If it feels like a lot, This is a great place to get started, even just using some keywords on your site, starting to think of new content you could add to your site that will bring in traffic will really help. So we're kind of getting more advanced in the strategy next on improving design speed and readability. Okay, so what is readability? It's how easy people can scan your content. Oftentimes we know that people aren't always going to line by line read everything, but let's say, I think a great example is, you know, we can talk again about the hotels in Paris. They're looking for a best budget hotel, and they're looking for a specific neighborhood. So if they can scan it, and if they see, you know, best budget hotels in Montmartre, then that tells them what they're looking for more quickly, so they don't have to read the whole article. So that goes into using proper headers. And so I mentioned that we are going to actually look at a blog post. I'm going to show WordPress. That's typically considered the industry standard for SEO-friendly web hosting and for blogging. You know, this will still be on different sites, and the rules will still apply. So different headers, 1, 2, or 3. 1, of course, being the biggest one, and then descending from there. And I mentioned earlier, incorporating your keywords into your headers. And then using clear themes, people can find the content. Again, when I was getting new into digital marketing, I would be sort of funny and creative with the different types of titles that I had. Something like, I don't know, let's say that I am writing an article about hotels in Paris, and then I say in the title, but then I thought ... and trying to be more, I don't know, storytelling. No, just go for clear, easy themes. People can search it quickly. They can find it. So I'm going to screen share again really quick, just so you can see what I'm talking about if you're not familiar with it. Screen sharing. Okay, so you have your title for the post, which is hopefully going to be related to the keyword. By the way, if you write your blog or any of your content, your written content for the site in something like a Google Doc or Grammarly, and you're copy and pasting, make sure you flip over to the text side, because the copy and pasting can hold a lot of different code you don't want to weigh down when you put it in the visual. Okay. So here you can have your different formats. Header 1, have some text, but then maybe I say best budget hotels with a view of the Eiffel Tower. And I know that that's something that people are looking for. I'm going to use a smaller header because it's a subsection of my main content. And this was something that we found earlier that people are looking for. By the way, if you are using WordPress, Yoast is a really great plugin, and it can tell you how close your content is. As even get related keywords on the premium version. And then here's where you put that meta description. So this is where you put the description of your page, which can affect everything. Oh, and I just deleted it, but that's fine because we don't actually want to publish that. We also talked about alt images and how that can affect things. So I did want to show you that really quick too. Add media. And you see here, this was from an article about Sauvignon Blanc and wines in Chile. See here, Casablanca wines, Chile. And that kind of helps scan the text and tells people what the thing is about. The picture is named. and the title of the image is there as well. I do see one opportunity for improvement on the PNG, but we will talk about that next. Okay, getting back to the presentation. So outside of the actual site organization, then the next thing is to consider using shorter sentences, especially avoiding run-ons and avoiding a lot of jargon, especially if you're in a more technical field. One, again, is a great example, tech, cryptocurrency, anything where people, the normal reader, might not be familiar with it. Try to explain it in a simpler way, even if it is maybe very familiar to you and maybe many of your readers. The search engines will still scan it and see that it's a longer, complicated sentence. So you want to think that you're making it for a 5th grader and not for the New York Times, or rather the New Yorker. And then transition sentences can help with readability as well. So things like therefore and following, in addition to, things like that are picked up by the algorithms. So we talked a lot about blogging. So keywords in your blog. Again, I really think that this is such a powerful tool. It does not take very much time. It's pretty much free. So if you can add this to your company's website, then I think you should definitely go for that. Again, it's another opportunity by leveraging trending posts where you can actually rank a lot higher for given content, and people will find you and then find your business without even knowing that you existed otherwise. But there's a little piece here that's specific to blogs that are categories and tags. So again, this is all about people easily finding the content they're looking for. So pick with just a few categories that are relevant to your business. And just like keyword stuffing, you don't want to stuff them with tags, because what happens is basically people can click on the categories and tags and then help find the content they're looking for. But if there are all of these tags that just have 1 post, 2 posts, then it's not as interesting. It's not well organized. It's harder to find that content. Within your blog as well, do include internal links. So that's a great opportunity to leverage, especially sending them maybe to your services page, to another blog post you wrote, as well as outbound links actually can really help with your ranking. So sending them to another referring site. And then again, using Google Trends can help because it can be very competitive. And so if you are a newer business, using a trending term rather than a very classic term, cotton candy wine instead of just red wine, it might help give you some more visibility. Those terms do generally have lower search volume, but you saw, for example, with the Snoop Dogg wine, it went up 3,000% recently. So there's definitely an opportunity to capture some leads. Speaking of ideal length, 1,500 to 2,500 words for 2021 is considered ideal length. I know that sounds long. So again, getting into those subcategories can really help. And if you can't get there every time, don't sweat it too much. If you can hire someone to do it, then great. If you can't and you're working on your budget, still 1,500 words is accessible. If you just have a sharp, well-organized, targeted page with 750, it's still going to make a difference. I wanted to give you a little bit of view into the categories so you have a better idea. So when someone comes to the blog page of Palette Club, then they see all the different listings, usually starting with the most recent. But over here on the right, they'll see the different categories: food and wine, wine 101, etc. And they can click on that and see other related posts, everything that's related to these categories. The tags are sub-content within the post. And again, people can click on those and see which posts are related. So if that's clear, again, just make a list in advance, decide what your categories and tags are. Maybe for tags you have 15, maybe for categories you have 4 or 5. but these are kind of your bigger umbrella, and these get a little bit more specific. You want to tell Google that you're organized. Okay, it's the moment everyone's been waiting for, optimizing your site speed. This is a really tricky one, especially because we want to have these beautiful designs of these beautiful images that really weigh down your site. So how can you get your site to load faster? The first thing to do when you're auditing your SEO and your site speed is to actually check your site speed. And if I'm going to send you this, you'll be able to have an opportunity to click. But if you go, if you just type in, site speed, check Google, then this will come up. And you can put in your domain name, and it will tell you how well you rank. If you're really low, don't worry. I mean, we're actually, going through some redesign of some current sites. And I find a lot of time when we've recently redesigned something, it's heavier because the designers have all this beautiful content, and we need to compress it and make it faster. So how can you actually improve it once you look to see how well it's running? First, remove any unnecessary or unused code. This happens often. You're trying different marketing tools, different little back-end things, and you add your Facebook pixel, your Google Analytics. Those are both important, but then you start layering and layering and layering. So if there's any unused code, make sure that goes away. Also remove, I'm going to jump ahead and just tag on, remove any unused plugins. So if it's not, plugins are great for WordPress. They can be very powerful to make your site more interesting and run better, but they can be really heavy too. So if you're not really actively using something, for example, Google Site Kit isn't totally necessary to have on WordPress. You can just kind of manage it from Google, and that's a big kind of heavier one. I'm going to mention the images before, and again, a lot of people are surprised by how much images affect their SEO. It's not just about the alt text, that hidden text that tells search engines what your image is about, but it's also about the weight. So PNG, we've been conditioned to always rely on PNG because it is higher format. It's a clearer format, but JPEG, you're not losing too much visibility, and it's much lighter. So convert to JPEG, compress your larger images. So ideally, you're looking for maybe 50 kilobytes per image, but definitely lower than 200. The whole page size, maybe 3 megabytes or less, which is actually a lot. But again, their sites are getting heavier. There are some great tools, so don't worry too much if it feels like a lot. tinyjpeg.com is a site that you can use to compress your files. You can, of course, do this on your own too with an image resizer, but this can help compress it so it still stays nice and clear. And then WP Smush is a WordPress plugin that compresses your files. But again, you have to find that right balance to make sure you don't have too many plugins. This is a two-parter, site speed. What's next? Caches. So this is a really big one. You can get seconds added to your site right away just by making sure that your website is caching. Again, there are some tools here. These are specific to WordPress, but I'm sure if you can find something for any site, domain host, or server that you use. W3 Total Cache is a popular one, as well as WP Rocket. This one also includes lazy load. Lazy load is great because it does not load unnecessary content. So, for example, if someone only comes to the top part of your page, above the fold, just that top header section, then it's not going to load all that other content until someone starts scrolling down and engaging. That can add a lot of speed. Make sure your site is mobile optimized. Mobile. So actually now on your site speed and ranking, mobile and web browser are ranked differently. If you do work with a developer, you can use Google AMP Framework. Otherwise, just get rid of things that don't look as good or aren't loading as fast on mobile. Just making sure that it's going to be a little bit cleaner, a little bit lighter, faster to use on mobile. And finally, using a CDN or content delivery network. So what is a CDN? So basically, a CDN host your site. And so if someone is searching for your site from India, then instead of pulling all of that data from New Jersey or wherever, then it will pull from India. There are some different web hosts that offer this service. There's some really independent CDNs. They vary in price. SiteGround offers it for free. This is a web hosting service. I'm not affiliated. I'm not, I don't get any money from any of these. These are just suggestions, but something to consider. Having said that, if you are a really local business, you might not need this. This is getting a little bit more advanced, so if it doesn't fit in your budget, don't stress. These are all suggestions and tools for you, and you find what works for your business. Okay, UX, and design. So even the way your website looks and feels matters. So part of this is just how easy it is, to load, to navigate, as well as, you want your site to be attractive and mobile friendly, so that way people stay and engage on your site and know how to find what they're looking for. So the most obvious thing is just staying up to date on trends. You don't want your site to look like it's from the 90s. Next is mobile optimize. So we did talk about making it a little bit lighter for site speed. This is important here as well, is making sure the navigation is really easy so that people can find the content they're looking for. So even the button size can make a big difference on your SEO ranking. So when people see your site, then when they load it on mobile, it's fast and they can just click a button and go directly to what they're looking for. You don't want people to have to dig all over your site to find the information. And your navigation for both mobile and for your browser, your desktop, will affect your site links. If you are creating an ad, you can decide what is displayed here. Otherwise, Google will decide what is displayed based on frequently visited pages and whatever they think is most relevant. So this is why you have a good navigation, because it's going to pull from your navigation. It's going to show those page descriptions and those page titles. That's why that stuff is really important to make sure it's clear. So we talk about good versus bad, optimizing your mobile, but what does that mean? So a good example, I liked this website. It's a camping service in France, and they have a nice up-to-date design. It's really easy to find the information you're looking for right away. So it's just, information, learn more. And then it even has the site summary down here that tells them a little bit more about the brand really right away. And this doesn't have to be on your site, but there's this automatic moving carousel. I know you can't see this because this is only a screenshot, but it shows all the top most frequently searched for pages, gifting, activities, and then has a CTA, a call to action button that will lead people to that information right away. This was an example. This site, actually, they did end up improving later, but this is such a great example of an opportunity to improve mobile design. So already it's kind of hard to find what you're looking for. Even though there's a giant button, it's hidden by these really big logos. And even this, I didn't mention it here, but even just having this in red, my eye goes here and I want this to be a button. I want to click on the red and it's pulling my eyes away from this gray button, even though it has some red text in it. So you could make these logos smaller. See how small that logo is compared to this one. We really want people to see the call to action and to understand where to get the information they're looking for. And then also just down here, this is a really kind of dated design. And I don't say that to be mean, but it's just important to know how your site is perceived and making sure that it stays up to date. And even here, the navigation, instead of saying menu, it says go to. And that's just not, you want to be, again, staying up to those trends, thinking about the natural way that people search for things and making sure you make it easy and fluid for them to find the information they're looking for. Okay. All right, so take a sip of water, take a sip of coffee. harvesting backlinks. This is finding other sites to add backlinks back to your site. This affects your domain authority, basically how well your website ranks and relevance to your sector. There's 3 different strategies. The first is, or a few different, I think I have 4 here actually. First is guest blogging. Basically, you can find a list of bloggers, reach out to them, and ask them to write a blog post on their site with backlinks to yours. This is great because it's usually free. I actually have done this, and people said that I can pay to write on their website. You can decide what you want to do with that information. It didn't work for our budget. Drawbacks is really time consuming. Not only the list building and the reach out, but then you actually have to write the blog post for another site based on their parameters. So this is a slower build, but a great opportunity. If you are looking for bloggers, FeedSpot is really great for finding top blogs and podcasts, whatever in your industry. Next would be sponsored blog posts. So you can actually pay someone to write about your brand on their website. And this is oftentimes free, especially if you can gift them with a product or experience, a free hotel stay, free case of wine, whatever that is, depends on your business and what works for you. It is normal to pay, and it can be expensive, but that's relative. You know, if wine brands, maybe I've seen on average for $300, but upwards of $1,500 for really big traffic sites in high traffic sectors like makeup or fashion. But it does give you great testimonials. It can give you a great quote, you know, a nice referral to your website. It also, you know, tells people a lot about your company instead of just being a hidden backlink in another story. It tells their followers about what you do, so that's wonderful. And again, it's relatively inexpensive, but it can be expensive to scale depending on how much people are asking for in your niche. Okay, great. You can be a podcast guest. This is another one where you have to do a little bit of back-end research to find these podcasts. If you have someone on your team that can take care of this and do it on your behalf, that's wonderful. And this is so fun. I think that's one of my favorite parts about this strategy is it's just great to meet other people, to build your network. It can be great publicity to talk about your brand on a podcast. And then they will almost always include backlinks to your site on their show notes. And so that builds up your backlinks and your credibility over time as well. Again, it can be time consuming because in addition to the outreach, you do actually have to be on the podcast, which there's usually some prep questions and then the hour-long interview or whatever. So make sure you have the time budget as well as the cash budget if there's any additional fees for looking for the opportunities. And then probably the highest performing but most expensive is getting published by a major publication. We all want this, of course. If Better Homes and Gardens writes about your site, it's really going to help your domain authority. And of course, it's great publicity too. So that's probably more important almost than the backlink, but it can really boost your ranking a lot. And Google basically tells Google that you are a legit company because this other legit company says that you're worth visiting. But of course, you do have to pay to play. This is usually covered by a PR agency that's doing outreach. It's very time consuming. You need connections. You're going to be paying thousands of dollars a month for a PR agency on average. So it might work within your budget and it can have great effects, but just something to consider depending on the stage of your business. So I'm going to make sure that you get all this information. This was a lot to cover in an hour, but you can go back and visit all these tools, find something that works for you. And if you're looking for a little bit more, if you want to be able to manage your marketing internally, learn things like Google Ads, event marketing, which is so wonderful for, you know, again, I work a lot in the wine industry, but other experiences as well are wonderful for event marketing. get already prepared social media content, landing page templates, this SEO checklist, and just learn how to manage marketing time and budget in-house. We're working on a marketing for one brand's course. And this is really just to make it easy because marketing is expensive, it's time consuming, it's overwhelming. And so you can take all of that information that I've learned over years of experience with working with many, many brands in this sector, but what works, what doesn't. And I'm making it very easy for you to digest and about a 4 or 5 hour format with 15 video lessons that are on demand. You can do them at your own pace, as well as prepared templates for you to write marketing emails, for you to write social media content, to know how to optimize a landing page, get deeper into your brand. And you're gonna have lifetime access. So since this is the first time we're launching it, you will have opportunity to new content as we release it. And then just as a pre-launch offer, we're offering that for $199. It's 50% off. We're planning on launching in the next few weeks here. Normally it's going to be $400, and this is very limited time offer. Once it's launched, you won't have this again. And then finally, what's more important here is if you finish it in 30 days and leave a review, then it's actually free. So this isn't really a huge money marketing scheme for us. I just want to be able to provide content for an industry that I care about and make it easy and digestible. So never will you say again, you don't have time for marketing, you don't have money for marketing. Things like SEO are things that are free and accessible for your brand on any budget. So I briefly talked about it. I've been in hospitality for 18 years. I've been in all areas of the sector: wine buyer, importer, e-commerce startups. So we're very well-rounded, and as a team even, and have worked in many areas of marketing as well as the wine and food industry. And what's more important is, again, we're really just about helping people to eliminate this sort of friction with agencies and businesses, and provide information in a way that really helps you and allows you to be courageous and start marketing for your business right away. Okay, so again, we're gonna go deeper into SEO there. You're gonna get access to understanding Google Ads, event marketing, social media, emails, about 15 video lessons that you can do on demand. It's around 5 hours of content, as well as weeks of prepared content for social media, for emails, worksheets to grow your brand, and lifetime access. Most importantly, you'll learn how to manage this in-house. So if you are a small brand, you can still manage, you can still grow. And that is free when you finish it in 30 days. So you can find it from the website. If you go to terravine.com and hit the courses and events, you'll be able to find it there. I'll send this to you all so you can hit the buttons here and dig deeper into these tools that I provided for you, including this course. So I thank you so much all for coming. I really appreciate feedback. I said I would open up the floor for questions. So I'm going to give it just a minute here to see if anyone has any last minute thoughts. And I'm going to have this video recording for you afterwards. So for those of you watching the replay, I'm going to sign off here. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you again soon.